Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a SWARMKEEPER Ranger multi-class with the Rogue in Baldur's Gate 3. SWARMKEEPER Ranger being the newest subclass introduced in patch 8, we're going through the full build guide, combat, and gear options. Now, for our favorite enemy at level 1, I think the Bounty Hunter just makes the most sense. This gives disadvantage on the saving throw for ensnaring strikes, so that is really useful. If you really want to use heavy armor, the Ranger Knight's nice for that, but I think that medium armor is going to be actually better for us in the long run, so we'll be rolling with the Bounty Hunter. For the Natural Explorer, early game, the Beast Tamer is really nice. Getting the ability to summon in a Raven can give you someone that can blind targets, giving you an easier time with them. But I think the Wasteland Wanderer Fire is a little bit better. Giving fire resistance is extremely useful because we encounter that damage type often. Poison is also quite nice too. Now for our ability scores, I think it's best to go with something like 16 Dexterity, 14 Constitution, 10 Intelligence, 16 Wisdom, and 10 Charisma. And skill proficiencies are a personal preference, but I do like to have stealth proficiency there. Now I'll be covering the full build guide as well as combat and gear options, so you can stay tuned for that. Into level 2, this gives us our spells that we can choose, and we're going to obviously be taking Ensnaring Strike because we just got ourselves that buff for it. And another good one is Fog Cloud. You can hide out in this Fog Cloud. Hunter's Mark works very well with this too, because it actually might be a little bit better at next level because you do get a bonus to the damage on Hunter's Mark. The Long Strider is another really great spell to take, but we'll go with this here. We'll take that. Hail of Thorns can be kind of nice too. It does use up your bonus action though, and that's another thing. Ensnaring Strike will use your bonus action as well. Into our fighting style. Now, there's a couple great options. Defense for the +1 armor class is always nice, but 2-weapon fighting, adding ability modifier to our offhand attacks, actually pretty good too. We'll be going with this here, so 2-weapon fighting, really effective. Level 3, we get to choose our subclass, and this is when we're going to take the SWARMKEEPER, and it gives you the Prey Send, so the swarm deals additional damage to creatures that are marked with your Hunter's Mark, so we want to use that as often as possible. But let's get the Mage Hand. We can use that to interact with targets, and Fairy Fire. I guess that's a couple of other things we get from this, but the Gathered Swarm is the big focus of this. So we got Legion of Bees to do piercing damage and push the enemy away from you, the Cloud of Jellyfish for lightning damage and shock the target, and then the Flurry of Moths, which can blind the target. I honestly think the Flurry of the Moths is the best one because giving the blind on your attacks is so effective. And we'll get another spell here so we can take the Long Strider or Hail of Thorns here. And then for, I guess we got the Gather Swarm there, so perfect. Really effective. Into level 4, we can change your swarm at any time, so if you find that one works a little better than the other, you can always do that. And at level 4, we get our first ability score improvement from our feat, which will take up our Dexterity to 18. Into level 5, we get our extra attack. So this is a nice power spike for the class. We also get the web spell, and we get to choose a level 2 spell, with Spike Growth being a top contender. It does require concentration, but it creates difficult terrain and does piercing damage to targets. Silence is also nice. And if you really want to go stealthy, Pass Without Trace will give you +10 to stealth checks, which can be nice too. But I think Spike Growth is the best choice here. And we're going to keep the Flurry of Moth there. Now, whenever we make it to level 6, you can take the favorite enemy in Natural Explorer, but I do think it's best to start adding in the Rogue now. This just gives us our ability here, so you can go with something like Sleight of Hand is nice, or you could go with Acrobatics to make sure that you don't get shoved around, which is actually very useful to have. Then for your second one, you could increase your Stealth there, so Stealth and Acrobatics works pretty good for just overall combat. At level 2, we get our bonus action, Hide, Dash, and Disengage. Really nice to have those. And then once we make it to level 3, this is when we get to choose our subclass with Arcane Trickster gives you spell slots, kind of okay. Swashbuckler can give you increase your initiative and give you a sneak attack without having to have advantage on the target. The Assassin will give you better first turn burst damage. So this can be extremely strong with the Gloomstalker, but we're going SWARMKEEPER. So I think actually the better of the subclasses is the Thief, giving us an extra bonus action and second story work. Basically, we want that extra bonus action because there's a lot of things we can do with it. So we'll roll with that there, and we may as well go to level 4 because this will give us our next feat. So then we can go with an ability score improvement to max Dexterity to 20. Now, I don't think it's actually best to go to level 5. Getting Evasion or Uncanny Dodge will make it so that you take half usual damage, which is actually really nice. But I think it's best at this point to add in the Fighter, as we get ourselves another fighting style. So defense can be nice, or if you wanted to use the dueling, if you're going to use a shield, I guess because we have the two of them fighting, you really want to go with either defense or archery. Archery being really nice too for increased attack roll, but we don't have any issue with hitting our attacks, so the better thing to do is get an increased armor class. Level 2, Action Surge. That's kind of a big focus of this, because Getting an extra action is massive per short rest. Now we can go all the way here and take the arcane archer. It's kind of fun because we do get our arrow shots. It does complement what we're currently doing, so that can be a nice option. Although you could go and take the rogue to level 5. I think going with this or the battle master, because with the battle master you get maneuvers. Then we can go with like a riposte. We can go with a pushing attack. We can go with a menacing attack, a disarming attack. A lot of options there. Arcane archer just fits a little differently, although it does require intelligence for it to be maximum effectiveness. Things like the piercing arrow can be good if hitting multiple targets. If you want to get the full patch 8 build, I guess we'd go with this. Shadow arrow for blinding can be kind of nice. Seeking arrow will make sure that you do land your shots, and bursting arrow for the damage. If we wanted, we'll go with something like this. This gives us multiple options for our arrow attacks without requiring the intelligence to be too high. So we can go with that, or we can go with the battle master as I mentioned previously with the pushing attack, disarming attack, menacing attack, or riposte. Always take riposte, but we're gonna go with the arcane archer just because I feel like it fits a little bit more thematically here. So I did do a build guide on the full Swarmkeeper if you wanted to go level 12 Swarmkeeper, but I think that this adds a bit more usefulness to what we can do with the Swarmkeeper. So for gear, so with all this together, we got the massive soul perception for +2 attack rolls. So that's really nice. You can also use the helmet of arcane acuity to make sure if you want to use the other arrows from the arcane archer, you can hit your shots with this one. And the helmet of Baldur for that +1 armor class is also nice. That'll put our armor class up to 30, so we're very tanky with this. The cloak protection, armor of agility. This allows you to put full dexterity modifier, which gives us that massive 30 AC. Helldust gloves, better spell attack or spell save DC, so you can land your ensnaring strikes easier, and it gives you fire damage on your attacks. There is also other things like the crater flesh gloves. Whenever you hit crits, you get extra damage on them. Darkness to see air gauntlets will give you the extra necrotic damage. Frost giant strength gauntlets are kind of nice too. If you went with the battle master fighter, you could go with all gauntlets of the war master, and it gives you a bonus to armor class or to attack rolls. You could go with gloves of dexterity if you dumped your dexterity, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. And legacy of the master will give you a +2 to damage and attack rolls. So that is another good option if you didn't want to go with the Helldust gloves. So I'll put those on there. And then we also got ourselves the evasive shoes. Fowler Alluve is a great Act 1 weapon to roll with. However, we can also go with some other things as we get higher in the levels, like the Crimson Mischief. If you really wanted to do this, you could go with like light armor and go with the ballast armor for that. The Knife of the Underbound King is also a pretty nice one. This will give you increased critical hit chance, and whenever you have advantage on attack rolls, or you have an advantage on attack rolls whenever lightly or heavily obscured enemies. Sharp Spear of the Evening, another really great one. If you're going with an evil build, this is going to be probably the craziest weapon you could add to this. Getting darkness is so nice. You could also go with the Sword of Life Stealing, a few other options. We want to be mostly using dexterity based ones, so like Fowler Alluve can be used all the way through to the end game, so that's really nice too. So Knife of the Underbound King, Fowler Alluve, your choice. I'm going to roll with this, just Act 1 weapon, keep it simple. We have the Hellrider Longbow for +3 to initiative, although you can also go with the Gaunter Mail. And since we got a bonus action, it's probably best to use 2 hand crossbows. As funny as that is for a ranger, it's just going to be the most damage that we can possibly get in one. The Nair Misser is another nice good one to use, but Hellfire hand crossbow and the Fire Stoker are 2 solid choices. Since we got an extra bonus action, we may as well use it for a hand crossbow. I think that ends up being one of the better options for damage. Then we got the Emily of Greater Health, Killer Sweetheart, and Ring of Protection. 30 armor class. Got multiple attacks. We can attack technically twice with our action, and we can do a sneak attack, and then we got bonus action arrow attacks to do. So we got a lot of options for combat. Now I'll show off what we can do in combat. So to start things off, I would recommend anytime that you can see an attack where you can hit multiple targets, like here with our piercing arrow, just go ahead and take that shot, because that's going to be pretty good damage overall. Boom, we were able to take out somehow all of them there with that. So piercing arrow, pretty effective. I don't even have the ballast armor on either. We also have 4 arcane arrows per short rest, so use them wisely. But then we'll go after the enemies that just spawned up over here. Always prioritize any type of caster there, and we can go against. We don't have a sneak attack advantage because there's a they have multiple targets here, so we don't have advantage on our attack. But we can also apply with our bonus action the Hunter's Mark. What's nice about this is it gives you an option for your Hunter's Mark here if you don't get counterspelled. The nice thing about that is we have 2 bonus actions, so getting a bonus action ability in on that is pretty effective. And I guess we'll go, you can use the Fowler Alluve's Shrieking Song too. That's another nice thing. This will give additional damage and gives them penalties to their saving throws, so we can land our land some of our other spells a little bit more frequently, and for your team too. We even got a web spell, so we can unweb an area, which is kind of a nice use for a spell, because that can slow people down big time. And then Snaring Strike as well. So I guess first things first, I'll just go with an attack here on... I'd love to get to them, but we'd provoke an opportunity attack, so I'll go with that. And then we can do extra damage with our swarm. We can either blind the target, or we can do psychic damage. So that's pretty nice. I'm just going to blind this target here. They saved on it, unfortunately. That was not ideal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blast them with my arrows again, just because that worked so well for us last time. So hopefully I'll be able to take out one of them here. And it worked. Actually, I'm not sure how it took that target out, but we'll roll with it. We also could just follow it up with another one of those, but may as well just do another weapon attack here and hope that we can, yeah, took them out. Perfect. And then we have a crossbow attack here, so we don't have advantage on them, but we'll still attack anyways. And we could even go crazy and take action surge here to give ourselves another burst of attacks, and then just go after all the targets that are close by. So I guess we can do a sneak attack now, or I guess we still can't. It's weird, but as long as you don't have disadvantage, you'll be able to. We're threatened. There's an enemy close. I'm not sure why. Oh, there's only one enemy there, but that's all right. So this target we have advantage against them, so we can do a ranged sneak attack on this target, which is pretty nice. So going ahead there with that extra damage. We can use a flurry moth teleport too, which is kind of cool. So we can use that to give ourselves a mobility option. I actually messed up my hotbar, but you see there we got the flurry moth teleport, so we can use that. You don't have a lot of range on it, but that just gave us enough to be able to get in close and attack this target here. So you could just use your arrows here, or we just have a melee attack. So a couple options. The seeking arrow is kind of nice. We only have a 15% shot, but you'll see there it finds the target either way. So that was pretty good. And then we get a short rest to get our resources back, giving us our arcane arrows and our action surge back. Whenever I see groups of targets like this, my first thought is a piercing arrow like this, because if you line this up well, you can actually hit a bunch of them at a time. Sometimes you do have to play around with it, because you can massively, yeah, you can see there we hit 4 targets with that, which is ideal. They can't counterspell this either, which is pretty nice. So I like the piercing arrow just for the extra damage that we can hit on multiple targets. And we took out the caster, which is exactly what I wanted. And now, since we got a target right up in our face, we could just go with a regular old weapon attack. On top of this, we also got the bursting arrow too, so there's a lot of great options. I'm just going to try and take out this target here and give ourselves that free crit for that free teleport. Also got that free teleport too, which is nice. So if we could get a little closer to another target. The nice thing with the teleport is it gives you mobility when you may not have another mobility option. There's a lot of targets here. We have a pretty good hit chance, and we still have our action surge, which is perfect, because then we can go with, like, you can hit someone with, oh, that's not perfect, because that's going to block that target, but we can actually hit that one and take them out. Perfect. And then we'll just go with a seeking arrow to finish off our final arrow here. So we'll go after this target here, and that may take them out. Boom, it was just enough. Perfect. And then our other bonus action to maybe take out this target. Boom. Yeah, solid work there. And yeah, I guess there's one more target to take care of, so that's pretty good. You can also just use magic arrows against if you have like fire arrows. You can use any of those things too, because it's just going to make it a little bit easier for you to take care of them. Ice arrows will give you the benefit of creating difficult terrain. Darkness arrows, enough said, very useful arrows to have. So this is nice for the extra damage, but also because you can create a difficult terrain. And then we can also blind the target or attack them with our swarm. The swarm gave us an extra 4 damage, which is pretty nice to have. And then we'll just follow up with another arrow. Ice arrows being really effective, and we aggroed more guards, so that's kind of funny. I'll just go with a regular weapon attack there. And we got the hand crossbow attack too. So that wasn't enough to finish them off. We'll do that, and there it is. I should have turned off dual wielding for that. And final crossbow attack here on this target here. I wish I had an arcane arrow here for the piercing shot, so kind of got some regrets here. Also turn off dual wielding by pressing R on the keyboard there, or if you're on controller, I forget what the input is, but anytime we got a target with low health, prioritize them. We got our teleport again here, so very nice for mobility, especially since we're using bows often. Sometimes just getting the high ground advantage is so useful to have against targets. We weren't able to finish them off there, but yeah, I don't think, yeah, we can't get a sneak attack off. We could use an ensnaring strike too, which is kind of funny, so we'll try to land that shot. And hopefully, critical miss, of course. We could also just go with a hunter's mark here. So since we didn't get the ensnaring strike, hunter's mark for our next attack. And we also, I guess, have a bonus action, so we can go boom. And nice. And since we got our team close, we can get that sneak attack off to hopefully finish them off. Boom, and the Flurry Moth teleport. So there is a Swarmkeeper Ranger multi-class with the rogue and the fighter Arcane Archer in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next one.